Throughout history, power has been held not just by laws, but by fear. And for some rulers, fear was an art form, crafted from wood, iron, and the darkest corners of human ingenuity. Forget a simple execution. We're about to uncover punishments designed to be worse than death. These weren't just about ending a life. They were about sending a message, terrorizing a population, and showing everyone who was in control in the most brutal way possible. From the boiling belly of a bronze bull to the slow agony of 1,000 cuts, these are torture's hidden truths. And what they reveal about the societies that created them is truly horrifying. Section 1. The Brazen Bull, an oven of screaming bronze. Our journey into damnation starts in ancient Greece, with a device so infamous it's hard to tell where history ends and myth begins. The Brazen Bull. The story, passed down by ancient historians like Diodorus Siculus, is a twisted masterpiece of cruelty. It all started around the 6th century BCE, when a bronze worker named Perillus of Athens pitched a new invention to Phalaris, the ruthless tyrant of Acragas, Sicily. His creation was a life-sized, hollow bull, cast entirely from bronze, with a door hidden on its side. This was no work of art. Perillus proudly explained its function. A victim would be locked inside while a fire was lit underneath, slowly roasting them to death. But the real diabolical genius was in the acoustics. The bull's head was fitted with a complex system of tubes that would capture the victim's screams and transform them into what sounded like the furious bellowing of a real bull. To anyone watching, it would seem as if the bronze beast had come alive with rage. Smoke from the horror inside would even billow from its nostrils. The story then takes a legendary turn of poetic justice. Intrigued, Phalaris asked Perillus to demonstrate the sound effects by climbing inside. As soon as the inventor was in, Phalaris locked the door and lit the fire, making Perillus the very first victim of his own creation. Some accounts say that Phalaris himself was eventually overthrown and executed in the exact same bull, a fitting end for a notorious tyrant. While no archaeological proof of the bull has ever been found, its legend was powerful. Later traditions even claimed the Romans used it to execute saints, like Saint Eustace, who was allegedly roasted alive with his family. Whether it was real or just a terrifying piece of fiction, the brazen bull remains the ultimate symbol of torture as public theater, designed to turn human agony into a terrifying performance of power. Section 2. Lingqi, the death by 1,000 cuts. From the theatrical horror of the West, we travel to Imperial China for a punishment that was all about prolonged agony and profound dishonor. For the worst crimes, like high treason or murdering one's own parents, the ultimate penalty was lingqi. We know it by a more chilling name, the death by 1,000 cuts. Practiced for about 1,000 years, lingqi was the exact opposite of a quick death. The condemned was tied to a wooden post in public for all to see. An executioner would then, with methodical precision, begin slicing away parts of the victim's body. The goal was to maximize suffering, keeping the person alive as long as possible while they were literally dismantled. But this wasn't just about pain. In traditional Chinese belief, a body that wasn't whole in death meant the soul could never find peace in the afterlife. So, lingqi was designed to destroy a person in this life and the next, bringing immense shame to their family. The process could go on for days, though often a final cut to the heart or decapitation would end the ordeal sooner. The practice was officially abolished in 1905, but one of the last documented cases makes the story even darker. On April 10, 1905, a man named Fu Zhu was executed this way for killing his master, a Mongolian prince. Photographs of his execution, taken by French soldiers, spread across the globe. The international outcry helped pressure the Qing dynasty to finally end the practice for good. Lynching is a terrifying reminder of how punishment can be used not just to kill, but to make a public statement that echoes into eternity. The ingenuity behind these methods is as fascinating as it is horrifying, and it tells us so much about how different societies have defined justice. If you find this exploration into history's dark side compelling, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell. You don't want to miss what we uncover next. Section 3. The Rack, a Symphony of Dislocation. Now, let's head back to Europe and look at one of the most infamous devices of all time, a name that's become synonymous with inquisitions and forced confessions: the rack. Unlike the brazen bull, the rack's existence is horrifyingly well documented. It was a simple machine, but devastatingly effective. The device itself was a wooden frame with rollers at each end. The victim's hands and feet were tied to ropes that were wrapped around these rollers. As interrogators turned the handles, the ropes would pull, stretching the victim's body. At first, it was an agonizing strain, but as the tension increased, the real horror began. You'd hear a series of sickening pops and snaps as the victim's joints, shoulders, elbows, hips, knees, were slowly pulled from their sockets. The goal here wasn't usually execution, it was confession. The slow, controllable application of pain made the rack a terrifyingly effective interrogation tool. How many people, unable to endure the agony, confessed to crimes they never committed? The rack was brought to England in the 15th century and became a notorious feature in the Tower of London. Its victims were often accused of treason, heresy, or witchcraft. One of its most famous alleged victims was Guy Fawkes, the man behind the gunpowder plot of 1605. Though his official sentence was to be hanged, drawn, and quartered, it's widely believed he was put on the rack first to give up the names of his co-conspirators. The unbearable stretching was meant to break not just the body, but the will itself. Section 4. Scaphism, the boats of decay. Some punishments are so vile they sound like they have to be made up. Scaphism is one of them. Described by ancient Greek writers like Plutarch as an execution method used by the ancient Persians, scaphism is a journey into pure biological horror. Its historical authenticity is debated. After all, the accounts come from the Persians' enemies, the Greeks, but the description is just too ghastly to ignore. Known simply as the boats, the execution began by placing a naked victim inside a hollowed-out log, or a small boat. A second boat was then placed over them, creating a container that left only their head, hands, and feet sticking out. Then, the ordeal began. The victim was force-fed a mixture of milk and honey, which would cause severe diarrhea. More honey was then slathered all over their exposed skin to attract flies and other insects. The victim was then left in a stagnant pond, or out in the sun, trapped in their own filth. That's when the real horror kicked in. The excrement attracted vermin that would start to breed inside the container. Maggots and worms would begin to eat the victim's body from the inside out. The constant feeding of milk and honey kept the victim from dying of dehydration or starvation, prolonging the agony. Plutarch told the story of a soldier named Mithridates, who allegedly survived this torment for 17 days before finally dying from septic shock and ravenous insects. Scaphism is a unique form of cruelty. It turned a living human being into a feast for vermin, a slow, horrifying descent into living decay. Section 5. The breaking wheel. In much of European history, public execution was a form of theater, and few devices put on a more gruesome show than the breaking wheel, sometimes called the Catherine wheel. Used from antiquity all the way into the 19th century, the wheel was a brutally simple tool for inflicting maximum public pain. In its most common form, the condemned was tied to a large wooden cartwheel, their arms and legs stretched out along the spokes. The executioner then took a heavy iron bar and systematically shattered the victim's bones. There was a grim science to it, often with a set number of strikes for each limb, designed to break the body without killing the person right away. After the breaking, the victim's mangled limbs were woven through the spokes of the wheel. The wheel was then hoisted onto a tall pole, displaying the still-living person to the crowd as a brutal warning. Victims could linger like this for hours, even days, before finally dying from shock, dehydration, or their catastrophic injuries. A 16th-century German serial killer named Peter Neers was reportedly struck 42 times over 2 days before finally being quartered alive. The device got its other name, the Catherine Wheel, from the legend of Saint Catherine of Alexandria. When she was sentenced to die on it, the story goes that the wheel miraculously broke the moment she touched it, so she was beheaded instead. For centuries, countless others weren't so lucky. Their shattered bodies put on display in one of history's most brutal public punishments. From the bellowing bull of Phalaris to the silent, slow decay of scaphism, these methods reveal a dark truth about our past. They weren't just punishments. They were instruments of terror, political statements written in blood and bone. They show the chilling ingenuity people are capable of when inflicting suffering, and how societies have used fear to maintain order. While we now condemn these acts as barbaric, their stories are a vital, if horrifying, reminder. They mark the long, brutal road that has been traveled toward a world where human rights are recognized and where justice is no longer measured by the agony of the condemned. The echoes of their screams are a testament to how far we've come, and a warning to never return to the shadows of that ancient, hellfire-fueled horror.